Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I am James Haskell along with my co-host Glenn Martin. Sorry that we are a couple minutes late, but just wanted to make sure we got all information lined up for you guys. We got a lot to talk about tonight, a lot to get into. Glenn, I figured the best place to start would probably be with JJ Watt, right?
Yeah, it's over. The Ravens are not getting JJ Watt. He is now I'm about to say a St. Louis. He's now an Arizona Cardinal. Going back with former teammate DeAndre Hopkins, who was definitely hyping him up. He said, "Let's finish what we started," and I guess JJ agreed. Right? He went along and he wants to see what they can get done in Arizona.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it, especially about some of the comments that have come out as to why he chose them. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I mean, I get it if you got a young quarterback, but I don't know how complete that team is, and I don't know how close they are to truly. I mean, I guess contending, but I just didn't like how they fell off at the end of the year last year. I mean, they took a nosedive, man.
They did. But I mean, the good thing is for him, what he's got going for him is that, he's got an all-pro opposite him in Chandler Jones, who I think he's a two-time all-pro if I remember correctly. So when you're JJ Watt and you're the most double-teamed outside defender in the league, then I think it makes a lot of sense to go to a team that has a dominant player opposite you that makes it that much harder to double-team you.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And it looks like good news. The comments are working properly.
Right off break. What's going on, Bruno? What's up, Dawson, King Tay, Marcus,
really
Ross Lol, or Ross LOL. What's going on, everybody? And what I find interesting though is because we kind of had a few Browns fans in our comment section hyping up when we went through the video of why he should come to Baltimore and not all those other teams, including Cleveland. There were some Browns fans that were unhappy with our comments. They thought that we were kind of too tough on Baker and that, that they had a really good shot at getting a guy like JJ, and not just because of Baker, but obviously Myles Garrett being opposite him, that doesn't hurt. And they had definitely a successful team last year. But I find it interesting that the Browns offered more money than the Arizona Cardinals did, and so did the Colts. And he revealed why he decided to go with the team that offered him a little bit less money. And it says he chose him because of the quarterback in Arizona, and says he revealed a text message saying, "I'm here because I believe in you." So we can only draw the conclusion that he did not believe in Baker Mayfield, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the case. I guess he didn't believe in Deshaun Watson either. No, I'm just kidding. But
I don't think he thinks Deshaun's even going to be there much longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that must be the case. And it makes me wonder two things. One, I mean, Baker is who he thought he was, according to our analysis. And maybe, yeah, I'm a little rough on him. But according to his peers, they feel about the same. But also, it makes me wonder if the Ravens were serious bidders. Because do you think that if Lamar Jackson's name was on the table, he would trust Kyler Murray more than Lamar Jackson? That's an interesting one for me. You know what I mean? So if we were serious bidders and really the quarterback had that much to do with it, I guess what I'm trying to say is I believe if we were serious bidders and offering the same amount of money, I don't think that he chooses Kyler Murray over Lamar. Well, I'm a Lamar guy.
Yeah, I don't think the money was equal. I don't think we were one of the top. And that's why we were never mentioned as a top suitor. And I think I don't even think we were in like the top 7 when it got released. So it was probably more wishful thinking than us. And who knows, maybe the Ravens didn't entertain him at all and didn't offer him at all. So, there's always that possibility. But either way, I'm happy that he's in the NFC. He's not joining either team in the AFC North, be it the Browns or the Steelers. He's not going to the Titans after we've renewed that rivalry. I don't want to see him there. I'd rather him go grab Clowney back and he'll play for 2 games and get hurt, rather than getting a JJ Watt, who at his best, and last year he may not have been his best, but he was healthy and he played a heck of a lot of snaps. I think there was only like 4 guys in the league that played more snaps than him defensively, which I guess could also speak to the offense over in Houston. But yeah, I'm happy that we're not going to have to deal with him until Super Bowl at the earliest.
Absolutely. And just a couple quick shout outs here. It looks like we got a new subscriber, Antoine Knox.
What's up, Antoine?
Appreciate you subscribing. And then want to shout out Jason Moyer, him and his son, JJ. Sounds like a Jason Jr. watching the show. We appreciate it and hope you guys like it. But yeah, it was definitely an interesting one. That was definitely a dark horse team. I don't think they were ever reported, right? As being connected to them, not anything that I saw. And the other thing too, I'll mention is that while I agree 9 out of 10 times, Dawson Bulock, a lot of people it's easy to say Lamar over Kyler at the end of the season. If I'm not mistaken, it was an ESPN debate on Get Up and on First Take, Kyler and Lamar, and some heated debates ensued. And I even think Ryan Clark took Kyler Murray, if I'm not mistaken. But so there's definitely debate, right? Now, like you said, Glenn, I don't think we were serious bidders. I don't think we wanted.
I think we wanted him maybe a little bit more than the front office did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we as in 410 Sports Talk.
Right.
But certainly, glad that he's in the NFC West, and going to be interesting to see how they do. I saw a tweet that said, him and Chandler Jones are going to be a dynamic duo, and then somebody wrote in a reply, 5 years ago. So
I don't think he's getting the love. Chandler's definitely still in his prime, and as long as JJ stays healthy, now you can't double team him. Let's see what he does, and I guess we have to wait and see. But I wanted to quickly move on to another topic.
Right into this.
Yeah, Kyle Rudolph, the tight end out of Minnesota, was recently released, and he's definitely a receiving threat. He's a big guy. Let me see. I have his measure. He's 6'6", 265. So he certainly would look right walking into the room with the rest of the tight ends here in Baltimore. You know what I like about him, Jimmy? Outside of, he missed 4 games last year, but before that, he played in all 16 games in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive years. And he's always been a red zone threat. So what is your immediate reaction when you hear Kyle Rudolph is released and looking for a job?
Anytime a vet like that is released, I just think it's a perfect Ravens fit. He's released, is not going to go against the compensatory formula, so he's not going to mess with our comp picks. He knows how to be a pro, and people might say what you want about players wanting to come to play with our system as far as wide receivers, but tight ends should be excited to come here. Especially physical tight ends, but not even just pass catchers, because they're gonna get the ball. So I think Lamar Jackson leads the league since he's come in the NFL with touchdowns in the slot, or like inside the hashes or something like that. I think I saw a stat. The hashes. So anyway, I think it would be a great fit. I think, you said he's 31.
Let's see.
For some reason, I thought you mentioned his age.
Yep, he's 31. Yep.
31, right. And so, look, man, the guy's a red zone threat. Lamar Jackson has 46 touchdowns and 1 interception in the red zone.
Yeah.
So imagine with Rudolph and Mark Andrews.
Yeah, and crazy catch percentages too, Jimmy. I know that can be a stat that has a lot of factors go into it, but I'm sure not dropping the ball also helps raise that number. And this guy does not drop the ball very often. And with his size, even if he's not, because I don't know. Obviously I know Kyle Rudolph, but I haven't watched every game of his. I don't know how great he is or not great as a blocker. Matter of fact, I can look up on PFF. But at 6'6", almost 265. I don't care if you're a good blocker or not. You're at least big enough to just get in the way and shield the guy using your body, usually enough to let the play develop and turn into a positive play. So at that size, I can't imagine he's a poor blocker.
Right.
So I think adding another pass catching element to the tight end room would be absolutely perfect. I think Tomlinson might be a little bit worried right now, even though he did just get re-signed by the Ravens. I think he needs to be a little bit concerned when he sees, but it really comes down to what is Kyle Rudolph's motivation. Because there is going to be a team likely that could probably outbid us, but can they provide all those other things? Such a tight end friendly offense, such a Super Bowl ready type team with a young quarterback. I don't know if many teams can offer all that Baltimore can offer, but if money's his only motivation, it's likely going to be tough, but we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I want to talk about too, reports came out today. I'm trying to remember who it's from, that the Ravens will not be pursuing wide receiver Allen. Oh my gosh, what's his first name? The Bears guy.
That's Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson. Yeah, sorry. Allen Robinson or Galladay. They won't be, or any number 1 type receiver in free agency. I'm going to verify that report. But what are your thoughts when you hear that, Glenn? Do you lose your mind, or are you I'm not surprised? What's your take?
Yeah, it doesn't shock me. And Marcus, I do want a younger tight end. Absolutely. But there's a lot of holes on this roster. And if you want an NFL ready tight end, I mean, I just don't know when you're going to take them. You need a tackle, you need an edge. But yeah, absolutely. I would love to get a young tight end. That would be fantastic. But yeah,
it was Jamison Hensley. I apologize. I just want to make sure I get the source here. The expectation for the Ravens at wide receiver isn't to pursue a top tier free agent, Kenny Golladay, Allen Robinson, but to use their free agent money on the second tier group.
Yeah, so I mean that doesn't shock me at all. There's no doubt that I don't think any of me or you expected them to go after the $19-20 million guys. I just wonder who is in those groups, because is Corey Davis in that top tier? I mean, we kind of expect him to be in that second tier, but who knows what they think of him? Who knows what the rest of the league thinks?
Yeah, it only takes one team, right?
That's it. Just takes one team to think he's in a top tier, and then boom, he's gone. So. No, it doesn't surprise me at all. And when we run down the numbers, I mean, there's just not a lot of space in the wide receiver room. So I do think they have to bring in a vet. You can't have your most veteran guy be Hollywood. I just think that's a recipe for disaster. Even if you do have those young new coaches brought in, you still, I feel like, need some leadership in the room that's a little bit older. It's been around a little bit longer than a guy like Hollywood and Miles Boykin. So I'm hopeful that they can bring in a guy. And I'm starting to become more resigned to the fact that it could end up being an AJ Green type, Jimbo, which I was not on board with because he's old and he looks done. But I do remember the greatness that was the old AJ Green. And if they can get even 75%, 70% of that, then that would obviously be a big win. And we could get him for a lot less than these other guys.
Yeah, AJ, or I think a best case scenario as well, if you're talking about tier 2, would be like a Marvin Jones Jr.
Yeah, he would be nice. I would love a Marvin Jones, man.
Yeah,
he's a freak athlete.
Touchdown machine, and apparently a great singer. He was on American Idol. So, what's there not to like?
Was he really?
Yeah, he was.
Wow,
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
He's an all right singer. I think.
Now, by on American Idol, do you mean he just hit the auditions, or did he actually?
No, I think he made it to the second round or something like that. He's not bad, but he's like
don't make me start me.
Oh, gosh.
We've been down that road, Jimbo. I'll get Usher right back out.
Oh, God. If you guys don't know what Glenn's talking about, for all you OGs to the show that go back to our strictly podcast days, we used to sing every week for losing a bet. So if you're interested in hearing Glenn sing Usher to me while he serenades me, go check it out on the podcast. Just look us up anywhere you get your podcasts. Yeah. Our old episodes are on there. So no, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think as far as AJ Green or a Marvin Jones Jr., I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head that would be a good scenario. But either way, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I wasn't super surprised by the report. It doesn't break my heart by any stretch of the imagination. Not surprised by it. I'm sure some Ravens fans are sick and tired of it and throwing their hands up in the air, and I get the frustration. But I think that we have to understand the year that we're in, the cap situation that we're in, and then, preparing for signing our young guys. I think that the way that we're going to be a consistently good team and the way we've been a consistently good team is drafting, not just signing guys off the street. Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the real, those are the pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and shout out to Marcus Barnes. You're the man. We appreciate you.
Woo!
Yeah. Shout out to Marcus. No, but I think you're right. Sometimes when I see a free or I see a guy get cut from a team, released from a team, or I see those big names, I got to admit, I get swept up in it, Jimmy. I get excited. I want the Ravens to go after them. But then sometimes we sign off on here, and I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking, I'm going, man, but how the heck are we signing any of these guys past this year and then still have to sign Mark Andrews, still looking to sign Hollywood? Lamar's right around the corner. I mean, there's just so many guys that any guy that we commit to for multiple years is going to cut into the pockets of guys that are already here, and that we're hopeful that they stick around. So, man, it's really tough because I'm hyped. I want us to bring in an offensive weapon, but what's that going to cost us down the road? I mean, I don't want a 1-year rental, but is that what's best for Baltimore, to have a 1-year rental? And then that way you can still pay the guys in the future. I feel torn on it, but either way, I think they need to add some type of weapon to the offense. Yeah, no, certainly. I agree with you. And I think that's usually what we do in free agency, right? Free agency seems to be like the cherry on top, or, the last piece of the puzzle. But I don't think we go in like Arizona fans. You can get excited about the acquisition all you want, and that's fine. But I don't think that
Man, I'm trying to think of how I can say this in a safe way. I just feel like the way that we do things in Baltimore is the highest chance of success as far as drafting and putting more of our eggs in that basket than just trying to outbid other teams. Not saying that's all Arizona does. Obviously, they got Kyler Murray, and they've had some other good draft picks. But in that example, where they think JJ is going to come in with a cape on and save the team and take them to the Super Bowl, not Tom Brady.
Well, he's not Tom Brady, but I mean, I'm not mad at them. Being excited. I would be excited if he was signing in Baltimore. I think he is definitely a difference maker on defense when healthy. Last time we saw him, he was really healthy. So, I mean, look, what else can you do but be happy when you're bringing in a guy that's that good? I'd be happy with him. That's what I'll say. But I want to move on to another guy that was just brought up in the chat. Let's see. I think it was Tim. I lost it, but I think it was Tim Ott. Yeah, he brought up that he believes we're going to sign a veteran to the offensive line. And there was another veteran recently released. The Houston Texans released center Nick Martin in kind of a surprising move. I know you've been wanting to get a center for a long time now. What are your thoughts on a guy like Nick Martin coming in?
My only concern about, and this is just me, like you said, I don't watch every Texans game, but we have played them in consecutive years. My only concern with bringing in a Texans O lineman is the image of Deshaun Watson running for his life every play.
Yeah.
But I mean, bringing in a vet, he's 28 years old. He's still got a lot of tread left on the tires. And he's a starter, surprise cut. I think you mentioned that would be, I mean, I don't think it can hurt. So it's better than what we got is I guess what I'm resigned to saying right now. I think that to me, that's not enough. And so if they do that, I think they still have to follow it up with at least a mid-round draft pick or something of that nature. So yeah, I'm up in the air about it. I mean, I would be okay with it, but it wouldn't be enough for me to satisfy me for that position. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really, I'm like you, it doesn't really excite me, but I would be happier than going in without him. So, I mean, I think that a lot of Deshaun Watson running around is more of his play style.
Yeah.
He likes to, he's kind of like the more athletic Big Ben, and that he likes to buy as much time for his guys to get downfield and get open. But yeah, I mean, he was, I think the 29th rated center in the league last year. He's definitely more of a pass blocking center than a run blocking center, which, I mean, I know we need improvement at pass block, but if you can't run block here in Baltimore, I don't think you're going to be very good. So I'm still hopeful and holding out that they can somehow get Corey Linsley over in Baltimore, because he was the number 1 rated center and he's now available. So, and he can do both. He's a run block and pass block guy. I don't know about the price. It could be a little bit too expensive, but I think they definitely need, like First Fam says, Linsley. Is it Lindsay or Linsley? I think it's Linsley.
It is Linsley, yeah.
Yeah, Linsley. Yeah, I'm hoping for Linsley, man. But he's going to probably be the most expensive center on the market. But center's not like, they don't get paid like tackles, but still, if you're the most expensive at any position, you're still going to be paid a pretty penny.
Yeah, absolutely. Another shout out to, let's see who we got here.
GG.
To GG. Whoop, whoop. All right. So Rashad Bateman, this is what Gigi says. Rashad Bateman and Seth Williams should be priorities at wide receiver. Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, I see his name a lot in our comments. I see he's a 6'2", 210 wide out.
He ran a 4.4 at the XOS Combine.
Okay, not mad about that. He's let's see, he's got over 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns as a sophomore last season. And what I like hearing is that he consistently wins contested catches. How long have we talked about wanting a guy that can go up and get the daggone ball in traffic? I mean, my goodness, it feels like forever that we've been asking for a guy like that. So if you're telling me Bateman is similar, I mean, I'm seeing his comparisons, Michael Thomas and A.J. Brown. I mean, look, I love Michael Thomas, but I really love me some A.J. Brown. I mean, I don't like that he's a Titan, but as a player, this guy is a freak of nature. I mean, I get flashbacks to seeing him. Did you see that video he posted post-surgery after he got, I think, both his knees operated on after the season? He was all hied up from the medication, from just being and he was like, man, I did all this on some bum knees. I hurt my knees in week 3 and went on to have a Pro Bowl season. And look at me, I'm getting cleaned up. Like, the guy is a freak, and I would love to have a guy like that At 6'2", I don't think he's got quite the size. But as we've said many times, it's all about how you use your size, how you play. I mean, Tyreek Hill, to me, plays way bigger than Miles Boykin, and it's not even close when they're standing next to each other who's the bigger guy. So, yeah, Bateman sounds awesome out of Minnesota. Huh? Who was the other guy?
Yeah, Seth Williams out of Auburn, unless there's another Seth Williams there, Gigi, and correct me if I'm wrong. But so it's interesting because his draft profile has him listed at 6'2", and weight at 224, but another online site has him at 6'3", 212. So a little bit of a discrepancy there. But as far as if you think you like that description, I just want to read this sentence to you and you let me know what you think afterward. He's fearless when catching slants over the middle and is very good in contested catch situations. In the NFL, he will be a red zone nightmare for defenses in slants, fades, and 50-50 balls.
Oh, my goodness. That sounds like a perfect receiver to bring into Baltimore. He's got 17 catches in 33 career games. I mean, 17 touchdowns, in 33 career games. Yeah.
Now, there are some concerns here, Glenn. One of the things that I think could be concerning when we talk about how Lamar sometimes waits for guys to get open.
Mm-hmm.
It says he doesn't have elite separation agility at the top of his routes and likely won't win against quickness in man coverage in this way, has some stiffness in his hips. So that's a little bit of a concern. However, how many teams are playing man? Because as soon as they turned it back to Lamar Jackson, he's just going to make them pay anyway. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? Anyway,
there's always going to be knocks on every
unless you're Julio Jones or
there's the rare few.
Calvin Johnson.
But I'm sure even them, if you look back at nowadays in hindsight, but if you look back at their draft report and draft profile, I bet they found some weaknesses in there.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. What I'm so encouraged about is these guys they brought in T. Martin and why do I always forget the other guy's name? Williams?
Kevin Williams, right? Keith Williams.
I'm excited about the possibility of actually developing some of these guys because I find it hard to believe that we've never drafted a player with the talent to get to, a Pro Bowl. I just feel like we haven't always developed them. And so when I see this guy's talent and the stuff that certain stuff you can't teach. I don't know if you can teach a guy to high point a ball. I mean, it sounds like you can, but it just doesn't seem like that. It seems like a guy can either do it or he can't. And that's just all, how it is. And I love the fact that he displays a lot of toughness. He's fearless running those slant routes. I don't feel like you can teach a guy to be fearless. It's either he is or he isn't. That's just how it is. So his weaknesses, I feel like, are teachable weaknesses. And hopefully with these guys who are both heralded as these great receiver coaches that's worked with Pro Bowlers and all pros across the league, we can develop these guys that have the raw talent and ability into that Pro Bowl we've been asking for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely going to be really interesting to see the dynamic of these new coaches in the locker room. And I think whether or not there will be a difference, I think will be night and day. So whether or not they'll make an impact, I think we'll be able to see early is I guess what I'm trying to say. So if they're going to have a serious positive impact, I think we'll be able to notice it very quickly.
Yeah.
And not even maybe I think mechanically, but also I think in the confidence of these guys, because just when you're on the right track and you have people that you can trust in, not that they couldn't trust in other people, but you have these guys that are, known gurus. I think just the confidence of that is going to make a big difference right off the bat. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's all about the confidence. That's why Lamar and Hollywood somehow developed this instant chemistry, despite the fact that Hollywood missed all of camp. Remember with the foot, but yet they were like, "Oh, how are they going to build chemistry? How did their chemistry look week one against the Dolphins in 2019? I mean, it looked pretty good, but that's because they're comfortable together, regardless of their talent on the field. They're comfortable, so he gets a lot of targets, whereas he just doesn't seem comfortable. A guy like Miles Boykin. So even when he does target him, Boykin almost seems surprised the ball's coming his way on some occasions, where he's like, he seems taken off guard by the ball coming his way. And so I think trust is a big, big thing. And hopefully with a full off season and a bunch of, you got the preseason games and all that stuff, you'll be able to develop that trust and we can see the fruits of their labor, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to take an aside real quick, Glenn. And if you'll indulge me here for a second,
sure.
You mentioned this earlier, but I kind of want to talk about this. We had some Browns fans in our comment when I kind of disparaged Baker Mayfield, and I tend to do that on the show. If you guys don't know,
you do not like Baker.
Not a Baker
right from
guy.
Day one.
Yeah, well, yeah, I could. back to his college days, I didn't like Baker Mayfield. I just didn't like it. But anyway, what I want to say, and this is what I want your opinion on. If I'm being biased, tell me, and you guys that are watching the show, let me know as well. But if there's logic to my argument, which I of course believe there is, because I always think my arguments are superior. But anyway, when I made my last comments about him being more polished and Lamar Jackson have not tapping into his potential yet, I leaned a lot on the fact that one, Baker redshirted and he transferred. So if I'm not mistaken, that's 24 months, 2 years in, separate, but 2 SEC programs.
Yeah.
Not
SEC. Oklahoma is what?
Oh, shoot.
Pac-12, I believe.
No, not Pac-12.
What is it?
It's the big. Oh, geez, a whiz.
The Big Ten.
You're right. Oklahoma is something else.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my point is that he had a year of redshirting at Texas Tech, a year between his time at Texas Tech and Oklahoma because he transferred.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Texas Tech. Yep.
So he transferred from Texas Tech to Oklahoma. So my only point is that Lamar Jackson came in, played as a freshman, played as a sophomore, played as a junior, and then went out into the draft. Baker Mayfield, along with who's very similar, him and Joe Burrow had Big 12. There you go. Had similar paths. And Joe Burrow is older than Lamar Jackson. It's his first year in the league because Lamar didn't sit. He was a true freshman. He wanted to come in and play right away. So my point is that Lamar coming out, and I still believe consistently, is much less polished in who he is as a football player, where a guy that spends 6 years in college and compared to 3, if you count as 2 years, one where he's a redshirt, one where he's a transfer, both years he's still practicing, that makes a huge difference. I don't think that there's any holes in that argument.
No.
Okay.
But I think you're arguing with yourself right now.
I am proud. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure I'm not being too biased, right? I'm a biased Ravens fan.
You're allowed to hate on Baker. I don't mind. If you hate on Baker. But here, I just want to do a quick preview for you guys tomorrow night.
Yes.
Everyone's super into the draft. We were able to get one of the leading draft experts to come on our show. So
for you guys, we did it for you guys.
Yeah, let me just set the stage on this guy because he's absolutely fantastic. I wanted to look up not just a good draft guy because there's a bunch of them out there, draft analysts. I wanted to go to the top. Okay, so I found let's see, Jason Pruitt from DraftPlex. He was the number 3 rated mock draft analyst in the country last year. And let me just give you some names that are behind him. Right behind him is Albert Breer from Monday Morning Quarterback. He's pretty good, right? I mean, you guys, I'm sure, have heard his name. He's pretty Jason Lockenfora was ranked 24th on this list. Matt Miller from Bleacher Report, 27. Daniel Jeremiah, 28. Ken Zales, 29. I mean, I could go Will Brinson, 36. There's a bunch of Charlie Casserly from NFL.com, 45 on this list. I mean, I could keep going all the way down to, let's see, who was number 210? Our buddy. I think our buddy was number 210. Lastly, yes, Jeff Risdon. We've had on the show many times to talk Browns. He's number 210 on this list. Maurice Jones-Drew, 201. So we got the number 3 rated mock draft analyst. And he's rated
or just draft analyst, right?
Well, just draft analyst, but he was rated for his mock draft accuracy,
right?
His positional ranking, his team needs. They rank a bunch of different categories. So Jason Pruitt's going to be on with us tomorrow night. He's going to talk all things draft. We're super pumped to have him on because, I mean, there's not many people more accurate, as you just heard, that as far as predicting what teams are going to go with. So I'm really excited to see what Jason says and how they can maneuver the draft because I don't know how deep, edge is. I don't know if we can get away with, waiting until, round 4 to go after an edge guy and we can still find a pass rusher to maybe complement some of our guys who can, stop the run a little bit better. So, just stay tuned for tomorrow night and be watching because Jason Pruitt's going to be on and it's going to be a blast. But I wanted to
just really quickly before we get off of that, I just want to paint a picture for you guys. When we engaged him about the show, he, first of all, gracious enough to say yes, which is awesome. But then he supplied us with this is how thorough this guy is, a line by line breakdown of his entire process, how he does what he does, how he's having, how he has success, where he's at in the process right now, where he'll be moving forward. I mean, it was just gold. So we're so excited to give it to you guys. Like Glenn said, Super awesome get for us here on the show. Can't wait for you guys so make sure you tune in, like Glenn said. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Also, give him a follow. His Twitter is @DraftPlex.
Yes, @DraftPlex, just in case that glitched out like it did on my screen. Oh, and Jimmy, you weren't arguing with yourself. Your boy's in here. Elijah's in here. He's in here. I like this guy, though. He sticks around. And yeah, that's
hats off to you, man. All I was trying to say is that I think there's a difference in college development. Anyway, when you sit 2 years and you go straight out after 3 years.
Yeah, that's fine. But I love that Elijah's here with us, and I love that he reps his Browns. I think that's awesome.
Because we do the same thing, man.
Yeah, that's what we be doing too in the other direction. So yeah, I want to do. But as far as when I was talking about the edge guys and how I'm hopeful to find maybe a guy a little bit later, because we do know there's a few holes out there. O-line, as Infinite Light says, O-line being one of them, and right tackle could be our biggest one as soon as Orlando Brown is moved. But I saw that the good news is Pernell McPhee expects to be back in Baltimore. And, I mean, I know you're a Pernell McPhee guy. I say he's the scariest guy on the team, the guy I would want in a dark alley with me to fight off some attackers. I love the fact that he, is expecting to come back because his dominance in setting that edge and stuffing the run in the playoffs was absolutely phenomenal. He was a big part of shutting down King Henry. And the fact that we bring him back makes me a little less concerned about what the heck is going on the edge, because then you can take a guy who maybe still needs some work developing on stopping the run on the outside, but he's just a pass rush freak. He's got the speed, he's got the quickness to get around the edge. And then you can use those guys accordingly, bring in Pernell and those rush or those rundowns, and then bring in the more like a Hassan Reddick in free agency, who doesn't have the ideal size. I think he's only like 6'2", 240, which is clearly not the size we want here in Baltimore on the edge, but he's a fantastic pass rusher. So if you can bring him in those pass rush situations, or a guy in the draft that you can catch in the 4th or 5th round that doesn't have that size that we're, that ideal size, but he has the quickness and speed to rush the passer. So I'm hopeful that there's some late guys we could get on the edge, because I feel like just the guy, having a Pernell, he's not back yet, but just the fact that he expects to come back, I think that's encouraging that at least our run defense won't suffer.
Look, so you guys should know, of course, if you don't already, I've known Glenn for a long time, right?
And he was children's.
I feel like I know when he's nervous. I feel like Glenn is really nervous about the edge and what it's going to look like next year. I mean, I'm excited about Pernell McPhee as well, but it's really hard for me to envision what it's going to look like. I do have confidence in the front office to get it done. I'm sure you do as well. And Pernell is an integral part of that. But one of the things they need to do to get the value out of a guy like Pernell, we need to make sure we're deep there as well.
Yeah.
To be able to rotate in and out, just like you were mentioning, using him in those important situations, and those situations where he can go, balls to the wall, really hit it hard. And we can get as much value out of him as we can. Just really quickly to address Jordan Hess. I don't believe anything to do with Jay. Yeah, he's just a fraud to me.
No, the answer is no.
Yeah, I hate that.
I wanted to when he came out, but what has he shown to anyone?
I just feel
occasionally he's played a decent run game here and there. But nothing as a pass rusher. Sack Daddy was clearly a college specialist, and he
just feasted on lesser athletes.
Yeah, he played against bad talent. I mean, a lot of his big sack games were against the lower level talent, but we were still hopeful that he could turn into something. But I don't buy into him at all. And I do like Jihad Ward. I love the energy he brings when he comes into the game. He just seems to make a play immediately and then hype the team up, but then he doesn't get a lot of clock. I don't know what it is, why, what his gaps in his game are that we don't always see. I'm sure the coaches see it.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not big on it. But let me see. The Skeptic Goat. I'm glad you brought this guy up because I forgot about him earlier in the day. I saw the news as well, and then we didn't even mention him pre-show. But thanks, Skeptic Goat. Make a play for Kyle Van Noy or try and draft Zaven Collins. I don't know anything about.
Collins I'll do some research on him because I know you're going to talk about Van Noy.
Yeah, but Kyle Van Noy is interesting. I'm shocked that they were willing to get rid of him that quick. I think he's only been there a year, and he signed a decent deal. I think he signed like a
4-year, $51 million. It ended up being a 1-year, $15 million.
I mean, that is just that's surprising that they were willing to get rid of him. Now, I do have the flashbacks of when Kyle Van Noy was in the backfield trying to wrangle Lamar, and he kind of he kind of got danced around, but he is a fantastic player. I think he's a good leader on the field. I would like to bring in a Kyle Van Noy, but do you have any? I mean, you have Zavon Collins. Do you have any news on him?
Yeah, I do. But really quickly, I think Van Noy, I think he's going to go right back home, right? Like,
you think he's going right back to
right
New England? But
he'll run
by
by
New England. Nobody likes playing there. They have a tyrant as a head coach that everyone can't stand. And don't you see? You done touched on the topic, Jimmy, because you know how I feel about Belichick. And as Danny Amendola, I think it was, said, the Patriot way has already left and has gone south for warmer weather. Okay, so let's not just go painting them right back to New England when, I don't like that.
Well, the only reason I can see it is because Brian Flores is from the tree of Belichick.
But he just cut him.
No, you're right. So what I'm trying to say, though, is that I feel like he probably never left that coaching style, even though he went to Miami. I'm assuming there's a lot of similarities there. Obviously, I'm sure he's not a carbon copy, but, very similar. And so I think he goes back home because it's all he knows. It's how he made his money. He's a late draft kid. He was a late round draft, if I'm not mistaken, 6th or 7th round. So yeah, I think he goes back to New England. He's comfortable.
Well, that wasn't his original team, though. I mean, he was drafted by Detroit.
Right, but it's where he had success.
It is where he had success, no doubt. But he did have 6 sacks last year.
Yeah, he didn't have a bad year, and he was struggling with an injury.
Exactly. And look, if I was him, this is what I would be saying. Man, that defense in Baltimore looks pretty good every year. They got a guy in Wink Martindale who knows how to use his guys better than anyone, who cycles them in and out and keeps them fresh as a daisy better than anyone, doesn't overwork his guys, can elongate careers by doing that. I would anticipate him wanting to come to a place like Baltimore. He's just 29 years old. He's got to look at the track record of the Ravens, having that all grass fields everywhere and how they've been able to keep their guys healthy. I think all that, when you're getting to this age, has to come into play. And I mean, you want to go to a winner. I mean, you just went from New England. You went from the penthouse to the outhouse, right? I mean, not that
or the
Miami
other way
was
around, depending on how you're looking at it.
I guess so. But his last year in New England, they were pretty good, but yeah. So why are you going back to New England now? I mean, at this point, they have nothing going for them. I mean, what are you going to New England for other than to lose? I mean, Buffalo is on the rise. Miami's on the rise. The Jets can't do anything but go up because they're so trash. New England is nosediving right now, and they have the no fun system. So I think Kyle Van Noy makes a lot of sense coming here. It's all about the price, though.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it would be interesting and fun to entertain, but yeah, I mean, it comes down to price at the end of the day. So if he made 1 year, $15 million, he's gonna want something similar, right?
Well, that 1 year, 15 was it probably wasn't intended to be just 1 year, 15. It's just how it worked out because they decided to cut.
Right, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, if you take that as a baseline for like an annual rate, I don't think he's going to want to make less than what
15?
He made.
He ain't making no 15. That's what Unique is going England, for, right? and these younger guys that yeah, I'd be surprised by that. But let's see, Bill Seals. Shout out. He says Cam Sample out of the draft for edge.
Well, before we move on to him really quick, Bills, we'll definitely get to your comment, but I want to finish up with the Skeptic Goat on the other guy real quick.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Zavon Williams. And I'm going to read,
Zavon
Glenn,
Collins.
I'm not going to lie. He might've found a guy because this guy, when I was reading through his description, haven't seen him play, but when I'm reading through his description, it makes me think of Brandon Williams, not in his play, but in his athletic superiority. Because Brandon Williams is a freak athlete, right?
No doubt.
So it says here, after high school, Zavon Williams was after a high school career in which he was a 4-year starter at quarterback, linebacker, / safety. He only got one D1 offer, ended up going to Tulsa. And then he ended up being the nation's best defensive player, winning the Bronco Nagurski Trophy. And it says Collins offers an exciting blend of size, length, power, football intelligence, and versatility, which makes him a dynamic prospect for the NFL. He has the requisite skill set required to execute and was arguably the most dynamic defensive playmaker in college football in the 2020 season. And in that season, he demonstrated noticeable growth, becoming a complete defender and making high-impact, clutch plays seemingly every week. So to me, when they're talking about, while he was at Tulsa, his athleticism really stuck out right? Is what a big part of what I got from that. And so it says, of course, starting linebacker given opportunities to rush the passer, drop in coverage, play downhill, and in space. Sounds like there's a lot of.
What's his size?
Oh yeah, and he's got good size. Sorry, yeah, I omitted that. 6'4", 260.
Okay,
he's a big kid. I mean, that's he's not on
that's
the.
Not small. That's not small.
No, so I like the combination of the size, athleticism, being able to play in space and rush the passer. He seems like he's got the size to fit the Ravens. It'll be really interesting because we've had success while Snack Daddy wasn't success. We've had success with the small school guys. Tulsa's not like the smallest school ever. It's not Grand Valley State, but it's relatively smaller in comparison to obviously some of the larger, more well-known schools. And so certainly I think, look, based on his description, I like it.
Yeah, it sounds like what we need. Now, does it have an estimated draft round?
No, it doesn't have it here.
Okay. Well, we'll have to ask Mr. Pruitt about this tomorrow night. Ask him about him and see what he thinks. But yeah, it sounds like a nice fit. Now, I wanted to bring up Cam Sample, as Bill Seals mentioned. He's a defensive tackle out of Tulane. He's just under 6'3" at 275 and an 81-inch wingspan. He's got some long arms. Almost, he's got 32.5-inch arms. Let's see. He was they're saying he was a terrific college defensive end. My goodness, all these pop-ups. Sorry about that. My goodness.
They're getting you, man.
Yeah, they're just saying that he's got fantastic upside, but he just needs to build some more strength and get a little bit better conditioning. But it sounds like let's see, he came another small school guy, another guy that didn't get a ton of love coming out of high school. Yeah, I mean, let's see, he had 44 tackles last year, or in 2019 when it was a full season. He had 44 tackles. 5.5 for loss, 1.5 sacks. I don't mind this guy, but for me, I want a more of a pass rusher. I mean, he had let's see, he ended up with 5 sacks in 2020. I mean, that's not a bad player, but I feel like we got guys. We got some guys that I'm not really worried about our run defense right now, but I need some pass rush talent infused into this room. And because I'm looking around, I don't see a lot of pass rush, so I'm looking for guys that can get to the passer. I mean, run defense, it sounds like he's a really good run defender. It says he can set the edge. He can maintain anchors in run defense. His stout build gives him some natural leverage against taller linemen. That all sounds good. I mean, he sounds like a great run defender, and they're hoping he develops into some, to give you some pass rush. But to me, I don't know if he really fits right now. But maybe after Brandon Williams, of course, they got Metabike for it seems like, to replace him when that time comes. So yeah, I don't really see the fit here, to be honest with you. But I'll definitely ask Jason Pruitt and see what he thinks.
Yeah, same. The one thing that concerns me, depending on where he's drafted, but the one thing I think that could deter the Ravens, once again, depending on what round, is that I think they've got to balance between, you want to get value in your picks, but you need guys that are going to contribute now because of the window that we have in Lamar's deal. So, but we also, if you find a diamond in the rough, you don't want to pass up on him too. So it's an interesting balancing act, certainly, but I think it's something to think about as well. If you got a guy that's considered a project, how much draft equity do you want to spend on him, being that we are in win now mode, right? If we were in a different scenario as a team, maybe we spend a little bit more if we're like full on rebuilding. But I think right now, with where we're at, we need some guys that are going to come in and contribute like tomorrow, right?
And he is a senior coming out. And as they said, as Bill Seals, said, and I think somebody else mentioned, he did go off in the Super Bowl. I think, the Senior Bowl, not the Super Bowl. The Senior Bowl. It said somebody earlier said he had 3 sacks in the Senior Bowl game, which, look, that adds that definitely adds to his draft resume, because the Ravens love taking guys that play well in the Senior Bowl. They love seeing that because they're always well represented down there. And you're going up against, big, when you're in the senior game, you're only going up against pretty much grown men. I mean, those are all big guys, and they've been around for a while. So if you're dominant in that game, that definitely bodes well for your draft stock. And if he had 3 sacks, that sounds pretty good. So yeah, I mean, look, we'll ask Jason Pruitt about him and see what he thinks.
Yeah, we're making a list and checking it twice, guys.
That's right, but we haven't personally watched tape of him, to be honest with you. But yeah, we'll check him out, and we'll ask. I got his name down here. We'll ask Jason Pruitt.
Yeah, and our resident Jesus whiz Browns guy Elijah just referenced a tweet that's disputing the reporting that the Browns offered JJ more money. Apparently, there's some differing opinions on that reporting, and so yeah, interesting to hear about that. I don't know how I feel about it. I'll have to dig into it.
I think we were kind of the Ravens were kind of a victim of, I think, some bad reporting. Just a couple of days ago with I can't remember his name, out of Boston.
Ben Volen.
Yeah. So look, if that's true, I mean, we've seen it on our end, so it's very possible. I think, did he mention Mary Kay Cabot? Because I know she's been there for a long time.
Yep. So she said the Browns didn't offer JJ Watt. It's a tweet from her. The Browns didn't offer JJ Watt more money than the Cardinals, despite a report to the contrary, sources say. Does it make sense that he would have turned down more money from an 11-5 playoff team with a good quarterback? ?
Well, I guess that is a question mark, that last comment, because I think if we asked you, you want to have a different answer. But yeah, no, I would trust Mary Kay's reporting over an ESPN national reporter. Absolutely.
And I don't know how much more I trust Kyler Murray than Baker.
Big Low Country. Look, the Falcons. My dad. They almost made my father quit watching football in that meltdown against New England. Okay. I got some, and the Falcons have lost me. They lost me a boatload of money last year in that daggone Cowboys game when they somehow look. I didn't have a problem with the Falcons until they blew that New England game, and then they blew that Cowboys game, and cost me a whole bunch of money. So, we like you, Big Low Country, but I'm not a big fan of the Falcons because of that. And also the link between Flacco and Matt Ryan always kind of made us take a little shot at Matt Ryan, whether it was deserved or not, but just that built-in, that built-in rivalry between the two both coming out made me always kind of have a little shot for the Falcons, if you will. Right.
Yeah, certainly.
But we like you, Big Low Country.
Yeah, keep it coming, man. We appreciate the support. Mm-hmm. One other thing that we want to get to as well, Glenn, is Mel Kiper's list, right? If I'm not mistaken. And they're a wide receiver specifically, correct?
Yeah, a bunch of wideouts. And Mel's pretty locked in when he decides which position. He doesn't always get the guy right, but I feel like he's, especially in the first round, he's pretty locked in on the position, and he broke down, or he gave a list out of all the receivers he would like to see for the Ravens to pick up. And he says that he likes the wide receiver position. He said it's a strong position overall in this draft. And that's encouraging to hear, because, there's a lot of big names up there. And if we don't get one of those top names, I'm hopeful that we can still get a contributor. I just remember that year, a couple years ago, the crazy, or I think it was last year. Was it last year, the crazy year with all the top wide receivers, and it was such a deep round, and we waited until Duvernay to start taking a guy.
Third round.
We're like, when are we going to take a guy? Now we like Duvernay, but we were a little bit surprised that we took so long to jump in and put our hat in the wide receiver ring. But yeah, I wanted to go through a couple guys here. Dez Fitzpatrick from Louisville. They really like this guy. He's got 6 foot. He's 6'2", just over 200 pounds. The only thing let me get into some more of his attribute, his strong attributes. And as a freshman, he caught passes from Mr. Lamar Jackson. In 2017, he had 45 catches for almost 700 yards and 9 touchdowns. So could be some built-in chemistry there. I don't know, how much of that has kind of died off in the years, but here's what's worrisome is it says he probably won't be a workout champion.
That stuck out to me right away.
But here's the thing that does sound good. It says he's known for being a technician as a route runner and physical as both a receiver and a blocker, and has great ball skills in contested situations. So, I mean, all that sounds really good. The question is, how much will the change of scenery, the fact that now it's your job, it's your profession, change that workout stuff? And there's been varying levels of success. There's been players that had success, and despite not being necessarily a gym rat.
Yeah.
So it's not like it rules them out. I know, you don't like hearing that. You're a big workout guy, Jimbo. You don't like hearing a guy that has to be begged to go into the weight room. But it is encouraging to know that they've already played together before and had some success.
Well, and the one thing I think that would help, it's funny because those sentences were back to back where you don't want to hear that he's not a workout warrior, but you also hear that he's a technician, which takes time, repetition, dedication. Like, I don't think that you just wake up a technician at route running, right? Like, It just doesn't happen that way. And so, yeah, he might not be in the gym, but it does make me feel a little better to know that he's working on his craft. Look, I just don't want guys sitting at home making videos, eating cereal. All right.
Yeah, I don't mind if you're not in the workout room as long as you're on the field.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because that's what else can you do to simulate what you're doing for your job? Get out on the field. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all right with that. I think that's an interesting move. And like you said, the connection with him and Lamar, I think makes that connection better. But I'm starting to shade towards Rashad Bateman a little bit. I know that obviously he was brought up, and then just reading a little bit more about him, and like you said, the comparisons to AJ Brown, I think could be a good fit for us. I think Lamar Jackson needs someone he can trust to throw the ball, trust enough to throw the ball to if he's not open in Lamar's eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I think he feels that way about Andrews. I don't know if he feels that way quite yet about Hollywood. Like, I think he's confident with throwing Hollywood the ball, but I think he'll throw Andrew the ball. I mean, you remember that Browns pass where he didn't even reset. He just threw it up there, and he was like, nah, I know my guy's getting it.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely, it's the size. I mean, Hollywood has everything except for that, right? He's got.
And Mark played, like you say, Mark plays so big. Not only is he big, he plays big. I mean, the way he can get those jump balls and he falls on his back and stretches, uses every inch of his body. I mean, it's just impressive to me.
Yeah, and then this is another guy I wanted to bring up because I'm really starting to like Tylen Wallace out of Oklahoma State. He's averaged more than 1,100 yards, and he scored 26 touchdowns in the last 3 years. He's 6', 190, but he plays big. He's excelled at winning 50-50 balls. He ran a 40 in reportedly 4.39 at the pro day. And let me say that this is what really has me encouraged. We know about Kyle Pitts, right? Mm-hmm. The guy out of Florida, everyone wants, most likely going to be well gone by the time the Ravens are picking, expected to be going in the top 10. Most contested catches over the last 2 seasons. Kyle Pitts, number 1 with 24. Right behind him, number 2, Tylan Wallace out of Okie State with 21 contested catches. This guy, it says he's arguably the best contested catch receiver in the draft. Plus, he has great route running and good speed. So this guy sounds like he would be a heck of an ad. I mean, he's not the biggest guy, just 6', 190, but it's really about how you play. And the guy makes catches when they're contested. Now, he's got the speed that he can separate. And if they're telling me he's a good route runner, I'm just wondering what's wrong with the guy because he sounds like he would be an awesome ad. I don't know what type of quarterback he's been dealing with in Oklahoma.
It's probably
State.
knocking him for his size, don't you think?
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, it's not like he's tiny. 6', 190 isn't small. I mean,
right. But I feel like if you're gonna
Hollywood.
No, absolutely. Hollywood is incredibly small though. But I think that for a true number 1, I think that people are looking for, what do you think? I mean, at least 6'2", right?
Yeah, back in the day, they would. I know that
they were more
Parcells wouldn't even look at a guy who was under 6 foot. But I mean, there's guys out there nowadays that get it done at that size. I mean, I don't know. I always bring up the Chiefs receiver. Why am I blanking on his name?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I always bring up Tyreek Hill, but he's not the only one out there that's had success and not been.
Yeah, I mean, AB isn't even incredibly tall.
He's 5'11". I think.
Steve Smith wasn't incredibly tall. I mean,
there's a bunch of guys out there that can get it done. So it's really about how he gets it, how he plays, and more so than his actual height. But yeah, I would love to get. I see this the shrimp
trawler,
the shrimp trawler. I would love to get Kyle Pitts. I think he's gone in the top 10 though. So I just don't see how the Ravens would even get close to that.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's interesting though, like you said, that Mel seems to have narrowed in on the fact that we're going with a wide receiver. Overall, what do you think about that as far as a first round move? Are you, we'll say that Mel's, like you said, the person not quite sure yet, but the position is correct. How do you feel about that?
Well, I guess I'm going to have to see a lot of I'm going to have to see what happens in free agency, because if you're telling me right now, that's not our biggest weakness to me, because of the fact that this is the Ravens. It's still Greg Roman's system. And I just don't know that is the most important position in his system and for our offense. I feel like tackle is going to be really, really important. Center, unless you're fine with Makari. I mean, I guess I'd be okay with Makari in a pinch, certainly as an injury replacement, but I don't want him to be our starter day one and expect him to be there throughout and help carry us to a Super Bowl. I don't think I want that. So I look at bigger holes on the offense, but I guess if I had to rank that would probably be my third biggest need. Behind tackle and behind center as far as the offense goes. And then defensively, I've been talking about the edge. So I don't really know if wide receiver, unless you're telling me that he is a number one. So if you're telling me like, look, guys, this is a number one receiver for the next decade for us, then I'm okay with it.
Right.
But that's the big if, because if you draft him and he doesn't pan out to be that number one guy or even close to it, then you've kind of, set yourself back and you're back out looking for a veteran receiver in a couple years. And
right. Trying to get through some retreads.
Yeah, exactly. So the only way I would want us to take him is if it's a guarantee, if the Ravens truly believe he's definitely the number one going forward. But outside of that, if they're not 100% sold that he is a number one, then I would hope they go edge, tackle, hope they go elsewhere.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Another big shout out though to so before I move on though, I also agree with you because it's crazy to think that, a lot of people will use the counting numbers. We were 32nd in the league in passing yards per game or whatever, but it's about efficiency. And I think that, like you said, there are other holes that we have based on our system only that are more important. Now, if we were the Chiefs or another team or something like that, I can understand how the situation would be more dire, but based on who we are and the identity that we have, I would want to invest that pick in interior alignment, edge guy, things like that, like you mentioned. But shout out to Skeptic Goat once again coming through with the question, or if the comment here, and I'm going to do some research on him. And Glenn, if you don't mind taking a note of this guy, Jonathan Adams, because we are going to ask Mr. Pruitt about this guy as well. If you want a big wide receiver that makes contested catches, that gets vertical for the ball, you'll like Jonathan Adams from Arkansas State, former B-ball player. And I tell you what, I love hearing that. I'm going to look up and see his draft profile, what they have on him so far. But hearing that he's a former basketball player, I like, because it's just natural. Right. It just comes natural to a lot of basketball players. And then in addition to that, we've talked about this, Glenn. I think that guys that are, succeed in high level basketball are incredibly athletic. I think they're the cream of the crop when it comes to athleticism. So even a failing college basketball player or a low level college basketball player can still be one of, if not the most athletic football player on the field. So pure athleticism is another huge one as well. Yep. So let's see here. I want to read through what it says here. If you'll allow me to here, Glenn, it says, Arkansas State wide receiver Jonathan Adams Jr. exploded during his senior season with the Red Wolves, logging more than 1,100 yards in 10 games. Wow. Adams Jr. is a physical menace at the catch point who bullies defenders in coverage and plays with the kind of attitude and confidence that you would expect to find in a stereotypical possession receiver. Wins as a vertical threat as well, showcasing back shoulder prowess and high point ability that allow him to pluck the football out of the vicinity of defenders and create explosive plays down the field.
Wow. Okay. It sounds like he needs some polishing in his route running and stuff. And that's a good thing, because that could mean that he could slip in the draft and the Ravens could get him later on and then develop him with these talented wide receiver coaches they just brought in. So yeah, a guy like that. I mean, look, you can't get everybody in the first round. You got to make a decision. So you're going to have to get some guys later on. It sounds like this guy might be one of those guys that slips down a little bit, but still fits what the Ravens need.
6'3", 220. That's a big kid.
Yeah, that's a big guy. And if he uses that size well, he could definitely Camino Kush. Yeah, Boykin doesn't get any plays called for him because he stinks. He stinks out loud. And I agree. They are missing Yonda 100%. That was a big miss last year. We just talked, Henry, we talked about Kyle Van Noy. I'll briefly say I would like him to come. Jimmy doesn't expect him to come here. He's thinking he might go back to New England. I mean, look, I don't know what his price tag is. He may price himself out of Baltimore, but if the price is right, I would like to see him come to Baltimore. Absolutely.
You got to see what Marcel said.
I saw it. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. So shout out to Marcel Allen. If I was Boykin's father, I'm not calling plays for him.
He knows his son plays small.
That's,
He knows it.
oh my gosh. That's awesome. That is a great one.
Tim, how could I not be optimistic? They brought in the two top authorities as far as receiver development. I mean, according to what I'm hearing, they got the two best young guys for developing wide receivers from college. How could I be anything but optimistic? I mean, look, I know the track record, but that's all I have left to be is optimistic. If not, I'm just going to be bummed out all the time. Okay.
No, and I'm with Glenn on this one, that I'm all in, because I think that Eric DaCosta has shown if he finds a problem, he goes after it until he fixes the problem. We saw that last year. Derrick Henry did nothing on us in the playoff game. Nothing.
Right.
And, we saw that if any of you guys watch the Ravens Wired after the games, they produce that, the Ravens website does so, or the marketing team does. But anyway, they had a mic'd up John Harbaugh hugging Eric DaCosta, and he said, "This is what we built this team for," right? That was pregame, right? So they already knew exactly what they're going into. So I think the same mentality has been taken when hiring these two guys, which is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the one thing I want to say, though, is
go ahead.
Nana Raven, shout out to you, because we are on the same page about number one priority. We need to fill in the void of Marshall Yanda. Now, I'm a little different in that it doesn't necessarily need to be right tackle, but we need an all-pro, interior offensive lineman.
Right guard?
Or sorry, right guard. If it's right guard, if it's center, to me, either position, but we need a mainstay that's a bully, that loves being physical, that doesn't feel a thing when you tase him like the old farm-born Marshall Yanda. We need that back in the interior of the line. So certainly, whether that's at center or right guard, I'm not picky on which position, but interior of the line, we need some bad boys in there for sure.
Yeah, and you can't just have big slobber knocker. Got to have good feet, because we ask the guards here and tackles, we ask them both to pull, to get out to the second level and sometimes the third level. So yeah, you got to bring those. You got to bring the feet with you with your big muscles.
Glenn, I think you got to respond to Tim here.
What's up?
He said Wolf Campbell ... not coaches, right? So he's saying that they were players, and that's how we addressed the issue last year in stopping the run.
Yeah,
these guys are coaches, so how much of a difference can they make?
Oh, I see your point. Well, here's the thing. It's just a crowded room. There's just not a lot of, we talked about, there's 4 locks on the roster, and then there's those 2 future guys they got, and then Kane and what's the other guy's name that they signed 2 wide receivers to that future deal. It was Kane and one other guy. I'm blanking on his name.
Shoot.
But if either one of those guys pan out, now you're up to 5. So where are you going to fit them? I just don't see. So yeah, I'm encouraged by, and look, those guys are vets, bringing in a Campbell and a Derek Wolf established. They've already shown they can do it. So if you're paralleling that to a wide receiver, you're telling me you want to bring in a vet who's already had success and shown he can do it. I don't see a vet. Tell me one that would fit what we need in Baltimore, that can come in for the price that they need and can be a guaranteed contributor. I just don't know who that guy is. We talked about Corey Davis. He might be a fit, but he might price himself out. AJ Green, he could probably be in the right price, but might be washed up. So yeah, there it is. Benjamin Victor. So if either one of those two work out, then you have 5 receivers already. So you have 1 spot open, and that's if you keep 6. Sometimes we keep 5. So I just don't see a lot of wiggle room for a receiver. But I understand your point.
Yeah, certainly. I get it too. But I guess the way I would put a bow on what you're saying is that in the situation that we're in, I think we're doing the best that we can do, right? I think that it's a unique way to address the situation that a lot of teams don't think about. Really investing high. There's no salary cap on coaches,
right?
So investing in the brightest minds makes a difference, right? There's a reason why Apple and Samsung are different companies. There's a reason why Dell and Apple are different companies. It had everything to do with the minds behind the product. It's not just the product itself. So the reason I'm saying that is because the coaching staff in football, I believe, is football coaching is the most important in all of sports, in my opinion. Like basketball is important, but football is everything when it comes to coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not one guy can just totally dominate a game like basketball. I mean, if you have LeBron, I mean, if he's healthy, you're guaranteed at least a conference final. So you can't really say that. I mean, I guess it's hard to argue if you want to hit me with Tom Brady. I mean, although I'll say he had a pretty darn good team around him in Tampa, but yeah, no player can take over like they can in
a lot of good defenses in New England.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they won 13-3 against the Rams.
Yeah.
That was a defensive showcase against McVay. I mean, Belichick took him to the woodshed.
Yeah, he did. He bent him over his knee and spanked his bare bottom. Absolutely. But yeah, now the run scheme takes up it did seem to do that last year, but this is a new year. This is a year that has a ton of off season ahead of it. This isn't like last year. So hopefully they can look. Tim, you're gonna see a difference, Tim. You're gonna see a difference because of their commitment. I mean, they know this is their biggest problem. So if they go out and fall flat on their face in a passing game again, like it's not something I see happen. That'd be like if after admitting all offseason that their run defense was bad, that they just went out and got ran all over again. It would be embarrassing. So I'm just gonna stick with my confidence that they are, that they're on the right direction, that they at least identified the problem and they're attacking it. But I want to talk about Casper 215, who says the problem with the Ravens receiving core is that they have too many of the same type of guys. Majority of them are slot guys, and that's a problem. Well, I'll say I agree in the sense that they don't have that prototypical possession guy. I think they were hoping Miles Boykin would be that guy. I think Prochet has some ability to maybe turn into that type of a player. But what they saw is they saw the Chiefs, and they saw that blueprint of putting speed everywhere on the outside and then dominate in the middle of the field with the tight end and Kelsey, who also is extremely fast at his position. I mean, they might have, one of the fastest tight ends. They probably have the fastest receiving core in the league. So I think the Ravens were trying to kind of mimic that. And Andrews was our Kelsey. Hollywood was our Tyreek Hill. And they're hoping Duvernay is our McCole Hardman. So I think they're trying to mimic those guys, and it's a copycat league. So this isn't like, shocking to hear the Ravens doing that. That's what you do. You see what else, other teams are doing successful. And if you like it, then you're going to kind of try and steal some of that. We see it with scheme. We see it all, all personnel everywhere. So I think they tried to mock that, but I do agree with you. They're missing that big time possession receiver that they just haven't had that can win the 50-50 balls and also take pressure off of Andrews in the red zone.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I think that that's the one piece that they're missing, right? It's like just taking a little pressure off Andrews, because I feel like every time, and he knows it, every time the ball's in the air and he needs to make a play, he knows that it's either this or we're off the field, right? Like, I'm not saying their offense stumbles, but when it comes to,
or it's Lamar running.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to the air attack, you talked about lack of variety, Casper. I mean, you want to talk about lack of variety. I mean, yeah, people know Mark Andrews is the guy in our passing attack, not run attack. But I'll also say that our run game, while it's predictable, we're going to run the ball. Glenn, you said this before, easily the most complex running game in the NFL. Eric Weddle, when he became a Ram the night after we beat the brakes off the Rams, who, Eric Weddle's known for his football mind. In fact, I think that Chuck Clark would give the majority of his of what he knows now credit to Eric Weddle and sitting behind him as an understudy in that year. Eric said, look, when you got a guy like Lamar Jackson back there, you got a running back, diving in front of his face. You got a tight end coming out of the backfield or a fullback coming out of the backfield. You don't know where the ball is going for a solid 3 seconds. And by that time, it's too late.
Yep.
And that's not even with passing the ball. So little credit to our rushing attack in that teams know we're running the ball. That doesn't mean they know where or how to stop it, right? And I think the proof's in the pudding, in the number. Any measurable you want to give it, I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. When I hear Adam James Ring, he said, I would argue our wide receiver core is at least league average in talent. It's about how they're developed and used for scheme. I don't know if I had to sit down and rank them, if I would put them, 15, 16, 17, but I don't think I would put them dead. I mean,
right.
I think Hollywood is a very, very talented guy. I think Duvernay, every time he touched the ball, he did well with it. I don't remember
you
a
can at least
single
put
time.
him. You can at least put him 31. You know the Patriots were worse.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Yeah, I think, especially when Edelman went down, they were really,
and then the
really
Eagles,
bad.
when all their injuries that they had.
Yeah, so there's teams that had a worse receiver. So I agree with them. It's about how they're developed and how they're used. So the only thing I can be is encouraged by the fact that it's not like Greg Roman is our head coach and it's his scheme and it's his way or the highway. He's still a coordinator. He still has a boss in John Harbaugh. And that boss went in and brought in a bunch of offensive minds that are designed exactly to develop the passing game and develop the wide receiver position. So I agree with you. I think it's all about how they're used, how they're developed, and how they're schemed. And I can only be encouraged by this influx of young coaches. And I think that, that they'll make a difference in the receiving game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think it's going to be an impact. Tim, I hope that we've walked you back off the ledge a little bit and
we need Tim. Don't walk him off the ledge. We need Tim.
That's what I'm saying. We brought him back. We brought what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I like what he brings because he hits us with the counters, and
that's true. You're right, but I hope that we've eased your nerves a little bit in that I really believe that these coaches are going to have an impact. I think they're already having an impact, but like day one, I think we will see just with the receivers that we have an impact. And then, another thing that I think is important is that as the receivers gain confidence, I think that what will happen is Lamar Jackson will gain confidence in them, and then there'll be a trickle-down effect. So I think that those coaches will push towards those younger guys because sometimes I feel like the Ravens – last year we wanted Duvernay to get the ball a lot more, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And sometimes it takes time. Even JK took time to come on. The Ravens don't just say, here, rookie, take the keys, right? It's just not what we do. So like you said, even J.O. started at guard, right? He wasn't even a left tackle his first game. Yep. So I say all that to say that I think that these coaches are going to push some of our coaches that have that mentality to say, rely on these guys more, do more with them. You know what I mean? Like, I think that will be an impact as well. Just give them more opportunities, be an advocate for them to get the ball more.
And that's exactly right. I think Robert Wiggins touched on that when he said, isn't it up to the quarterback to throw to the receiver in one-on-one opportunity and give the receiver a chance? I think if he's being coached, if Greg Roman or any of his coaches, James Urban, is saying, hey, on third down, if they're bunching the box and you see single coverage, go ahead and throw it up. I don't think Lamar would ignore that. I think he would throw it up. I don't think he's being coached to do that. So I think that it's all about emphasis. And JT O'Sullivan said it when we had him on the program here, talking about it's all about how if it's emphasized on the practice field, if it's coached in the room, then he'll do it. I mean, so yeah, we were screaming for 50-50 balls. When we saw Dez on the outside and one-on-one coverage, please throw it up. But
give him a chance.
And I just find it hard to believe that Lamar would be being coached to do so and just choosing not to especially with the recent tweets coming out from the wide receivers that are criticizing not Lamar, they're criticizing the coaching. So I got to imagine that it's just not being coached there, but I can only be hopeful that it will be this year. It's not like they're sticking their head in the sand and being arrogant about it and saying, we don't have a problem. No, they admitted they had a problem and they're trying to fix it. I think somebody earlier said, what about trading for Rafari Cooper said, what about trading for DJ Shark? I would like it, but the problem is you got to pay him real soon. I think he's in his 5th year, and that's going to be expensive. Even if he's not paid as one of those, top tier guys, he's still going to be more expensive than I think the Ravens are hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. So Glenn, one other thing I want to get to is I want to get to Infinite Light, his Infinite Light's comments, and he's shedding light on something that I've been frustrated about for a long time.
Okay.
So I want to get your thoughts on it. So he said, I hate when fans of other teams make excuses or made excuses for Mahomes in the Super Bowl, but when Lamar loses, he's called a running back and a choke artist. What's your take on the difference of treatment between the two? Do you think it's real? Not between the two, really between a lot of quarterbacks and Lamar Jackson, because I agree with him that as soon as Tony Romo could, he pulled out the turf toe excuse. As soon as he could do it, he said, turf toe. At the end of every stupid sentence, he would say turf toe about Patrick Mahomes. And all I hear is slander all over social media and about Lamar Jackson not being complete, not being this and not being that. So do you buy into the fact that it's real, or do you think that we're just oversensitive as Ravens fans, the difference in treatment? And why do you think it is, if it does exist?
Well, I think it exists because it's just different. And, he's doing it in a different way. He's doing it in a way that kind of bucks the system. And whereas Mahomes is kind of, he's got that big arm that everyone, falls in love with right away. And he's doing it as a more traditional way. He still sprinkles in, he uses athleticism, picks up first downs here and there with his legs, but he definitely does it in a more traditional way. And I think that's why Lamar gets a lot of the hate, because they don't want to see that way work. Certainly defensive coordinators don't want to see that way work, because that means you have to defend one more guy. It brings, what they say, it's like having all 11 guys on the offense. You have to guard. You can't just play 10 guys and hope that you slow them down. So I think it's just because it's different. Now, I think that Mahomes gets more leniency because he's already been to the top of the mountain. He's been a Super Bowl MVP. He's been a league MVP. He's been to the Super Bowl twice now in just a young career. So I don't mind as much when believe me, I'm happy that he lost this Super Bowl, because as I said before, we've already come to resign to the fact that Brady is the GOAT. So that's fine. If you want to keep going up higher on top of that mountain, that's fine, because he's already at the top. I don't need Mahomes challenging him for it, and another dynasty already forming in the AFC. We don't, especially when the last one just died out. So I was happy to see him lose, but I also understand why he gets leniency. Now, what I don't understand always is the leniency that Deshaun Watson gets. He gets talked about as a top 3 quarterback pretty much universally, and Lamar does not. And that kind of baffles me, because as far as NFL is concerned, their success is not even close. If you look at their win-loss, if you look at their accolades, I mean, it's not even close. So I don't like it when Deshaun Watson gets those excuses and gets, raved about as the greatest, as a top 3 quarterback, when he just had 4 wins. I get that his team wasn't great around him, but, and also he's kind of I get why he wants to leave Houston, but, he signed that contract, I believe, after after DeAndre Hopkins was traded. He signed his contract, and now he wants to bail. I don't know. So I don't like that Deshaun gets this free reign to do whatever he wants, and he never gets criticized, but yet Lamar does, despite having a much more a much better pro career thus far.
It kind of reminds me pre-trade or pre-free agency move to Golden State. I felt like KD kind of avoided a lot of backlash. He was known as like, he seemed to appear nicer in the media and like was less snarky. The KD we know now is totally different. It's almost hard to remember that guy, but he got a pass for a long time. And then obviously the Golden State move, and then he started showing his true colors, or just, whatever the case was, things changed. But I think I agree with you, Glenn. What Lamar Jackson has been doing since the combine has been telling all these NFL big heads that know everything, right? Yeah. Smiling in their faces and giving them the middle finger, like nicely, right? Just like giving them the middle finger and smiling at them, and not being.
I don't even know if the middle finger. He's just smiling because he's too nice of a guy.
But what I mean is that he's like you said, buck your system, right? Everything you say, I am who I am, and people hate being wrong. I hate being wrong. Everyone hates being wrong, right? And people, unfortunately, I feel like want Lamar Jackson to want to be right about Lamar Jackson at the altar of his success. Mm-hmm. And that sucks, man. That sucks for a kid to know that people would rather be right about their take on you than just appreciate the greatness of your game, the uniqueness of your game, right? It's a sucky situation to be in. I mean, I don't think it bothers Lamar. I don't think he loses any sleep at night about it. But certainly, I think that's where it comes from. I don't know why Watson gets the pass, but I think that the treatment between Lamar and the field is different because people just want to be right.
Yeah, and I'm worried that would have that is starting to develop in small pockets with Ravens fans in regards to the offense and Greg Roman. It almost seems like certain fans are almost rooting for the Ravens offense to stumble and to slip up because they want to be right about Greg Roman staying on as being a bad move.
Well, because I think they think the sooner that they're right, the sooner they can rid themselves of Greg Roman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I just hope that doesn't grow. And I'm worried that if this at the soonest sign of a stumble, that they're all, everyone's going to come out and say, see, this is why Greg Roman should be gone. And
Well, let me ask you about
You
that
know,
comment about what you're saying.
Yeah,
Because do you think that it's more likely that we win because it's about winning a Super Bowl? We're all Ravens fans, right?
Yeah.
So is it more likely that Greg Roman's system, people are wrong about Greg Roman and that we win a Super Bowl, or that they're right about Greg Roman, we have to replace him, find another guy that can then take our offense to the promised land? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, which scenarios really think about it? To me, I think it's much more likely that Greg Roman gets us there and the success that he's had than we get rid of him, start from scratch, bring in a new guy, and then get all the way up to the top of the mountain again. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, it would certainly be tough because, then you're talking about a lot of guys are going to be getting paid by that point. I mean, I think they would have hoped that happened this year, but as far as going forward, yeah, you'd have to wait now another year. You're that much closer to Lamar getting a bunch of money. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know. I just hope that that it doesn't start from week one. Like if they stumble a little bit early on offensively, I could see him even winning the game, say winning a game 17-13, and they still are calling for his head.
Yeah.
Well, Marcus, what it would take is, here's the thing. They were still number one in the league in scoring differential last year with a hodgepodge offensive line with guys going in and out. And as what some people say, I think there's no doubt they're a bottom quarter of a bottom 25% as far as wide receiver position. And I think some would say they're bottom 5, bottom 3. So it would take, I guess it would take, it would take a lot less success than what they've already had. I mean, they were still the number one in something last year. Like people always they go, yeah, the running tack. Yeah, it's good. But do you guys remember the time when we were 15, 16, 22nd in every category? The fact that we're so far and away the number one in half of what an offense does, that's the part that I'm struggling. And the fact that just a year before we were the number one offense in the league and it wasn't even close.
Right.
Number one in scoring, number one in first downs, number one in passing touchdowns, number one in rushing touchdowns, number one in touchdowns from the pocket. I just don't want to just discredit the fact that we were number one in every statistical category just 1 year before. And then last year, it's not like we were garbage. It's not like the team couldn't score. The team was number one in point differential, and the number one in rushing. So it's not like I don't like the fact that people just want to blame Greg Roman for the setback, the setback in 2020 from that incredible 2019, and not blame, how about we blame the offensive line for getting banged up and struggling? How about we blame the fact that our tight ends were decimated outside of Andrews? I mean, they were destroyed. So, I just don't think it was all Greg Roman is what I'm getting at. I feel like the blame goes around. Yeah, I was frustrated with Greg Roman at times, but I just don't want to put all the blame on him and all the credit for the success in 19 on the players. I just disagree with that.
Yeah, I think what I want to see happen and what I think is happening is instead of saying, okay, let's rip and replace, right? Let's say, okay, let's take what we have, the good things that we have, and let's build on it. And I think that's what we're doing with the coaching staff. I think that's what we're doing to not only help the receivers, but like you said, Glenn, I think it's Keith Williams, right? He's the former, he's been an OC at USC and in some good years there. Yeah. These guys are bright offensive minds, especially when it comes to the passing game. So I think that the only way I would feel comfortable with moving on from Greg Roman is that if he's so rigid in his thought process, that he's not willing to say, okay, we need to improve here, we need to improve there, let's collaborate and work on this thing together. If he's not willing to do that, that's a detrimental issue, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I absolutely agree with you. I'm not ready to throw away the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah, why? Here's what I want to ask you guys. If mainly those who want to get rid of Greg Roman. I think Nana wants to get rid of him. And by the way, somebody earlier said we can't make it to the Super Bowl with Greg Roman as our OC. Who did the Ravens beat in the Super Bowl? Who was the OC of the team the Ravens beat in the Super Bowl?
Greg
Jimmy?
Roman.
Okay, so
and he had just been to two previous NFC Championship games.
And thank goodness we won. But if Michael Crabtree separates and gets off of Jimmy Smith and makes that catch, then he's a Super Bowl winning OC. So let's not act like he's garbage. Okay, let's just but here's my question: if people who want to blame him, that's fine. How in the world did we have one of the most historic offenses in the league, in league history in 2019? How is it that this idiot, this moron, could have orchestrated an offense that had the best rushing attack in the history of the league, the best one ever at half of what you do in an offense. They're the best ever. How can this idiot orchestrate an offense it is that good and that special? How could he do it? He's so stupid. I mean, please tell me, Nana, tell me, Marcus, tell me all these. How can this idiot have done that? I don't get it. Just doesn't make sense. And there's people who say he's figuring them out. Well, why aren't they figuring out in the regular season when why? I just don't I don't like that argument. The reason we struggle in the playoffs is because you're only playing really good teams in the playoffs. That's why it's hard to win in the playoffs, because they're really good teams across from you. So I'm just not willing to put all the blame on Roman. I'm not saying he gets a free pass no matter what happens, but it just doesn't make sense. I just don't agree with this. Yeah. I don't know.
And I agree with you. And I think the narrative around, him not adjusting, or and then I know you mentioned that he calls plays in the first half. They don't work. He comes out in the second half, calls the same plays. I would just ask you to go back and watch the Tennessee Titans game in which we won, because in the first half, say what you want, but the second half, what happened when we came down the field, we threw the ball 3 times in one drive to our fullback. Right. And then JK ends up punched in the end zone. That was a beautifully executed drive off of adjustments made at halftime.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's fair to say he doesn't adjust. I also think that it's important not to go, because people will say he doesn't adjust. And then if he abandons the run, the same people are going to say, we abandon the run. So we've got to stick to what works. I understand making adjustments, but Greg Roman himself has said that necessity is the mother of innovation, of invention. Right. Innovation. You could interchange the words. It's the same thing in this context. So I believe that it's on the forefront of his mind. I think Greg Roman's a smart guy, and I still believe in him. I believe in him as an offensive mind.
And I just want to know, what would have been better for, what could he have done other than win the Super Bowl? Because it seems like if you don't win the Super Bowl, you're trash.
Right.
So I'm assuming Peyton should be fired in New Orleans. How long has it been since he won a Super Bowl? He should be fired. He sucks.
What, 2009? Right?
Yeah, he's trash because he hasn't won a Super Bowl. I just don't understand. You can't measure success, but of course everyone's goal is to win a Super Bowl. But just because you fall short of that doesn't mean your team was a complete failure and that you should fire your coaching staff. It's just ridiculous. This is what bad organizations do. They knee-jerk react and they fire their coaches after a disappointing loss. That's what bad teams do. That's not what the Steelers do. That's not what the Ravens do. That's not what the Patriots do. That's not what good organizations do. They don't let a disappointing loss in the playoffs cause them to fire their entire organization. That's what trash organizations do, and they don't repeat success. I mean, I'm trying to keep it real. Just because you don't win a Super Bowl does not mean you fire your whole staff, and that's what some are suggesting. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Let's fire Andy Reid. He lost. He's trash. I mean, It just seems ridiculous, man. I mean, we see what you feel about this. I mean,
I like that we must owe Greg Roman money.
No, it's just look. I'm not even the biggest. I mean, if they go out and I'm not like this guy who's just he has a free pass forever. But this is not like. He's a head coach, not an OC. Whose system is in New Orleans? Whose offensive system?
That's Sean Payton, 100,000,000%. I don't even know who their OC is.
Nobody does.
Absolutely. And then the other thing I'll say too is that.
And what is a passing game, Dwayne? You said the passing game. What matters most? Scoring points, right?
Yeah, a point's a point. A yard is a yard.
Who scored more points than the Ravens in 2019? Who had the best number 1 scoring differential in the league in 2020? The Ravens did. So it don't matter. It's just like Josh Harris says, a yard is a yard, whether it's through the air or on the ground. It does not matter. A point is a point. Whether you get that point on the ground or through the air, a point is a point.
Yep. And I like what Adam said. He said, who are we comparing ourselves to? Apparently perfection, right?
That's it.
Is that the bar? And then on top of it, Nana, I understand that there's frustration behind the offense, and trust me, we are frustrated as well.
You're making me sound like I don't have any frustration because I have to defend it.
Right. One thing that's important is that to know, guys, we feel much more strongly towards John Harbaugh than we do towards Greg Roman. I think Glenn and I would both agree on that.
Yeah.
John gets a pass way longer to me than a guy like Greg Roman, but Greg does have some credit built in. I think Nana, I don't think it's fair to say that his offense is not innovative when things are done that have never been done before. If you're talking statistics in the past 2 years,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's just because of Lamar Jackson. I think the personnel fits the scheme perfectly. I think this is the best group of, running back and quarterback combination, which look, Frank Gore and Colin Kaepernick were no scrubs. Like, don't get me wrong, but Lamar with the stable of backs he's got is just the best that Roman's ever had. But his offense, I believe, is absolutely innovative. Yeah, it's in the run game. His passing scheme might be elementary, but no coach is perfect. He's rounding out. He's still growing as a coach. So to me, the most important thing, like I said before, I'm going to reiterate here, is that it's about his mindset. Is he willing to learn and grow? Is he willing to listen to outside counsel? Is he willing to collaborate with others? If not, then you get fine. That's fine with me because you've taken the truck as far up the hill as you can. But if you're willing to keep growing and advancing the offense forward, moving it down the field, literally and figuratively, then I say we keep rolling with him.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't want to spend all
I know
all night on this.
I'm
just
hot and bothered, Glenn.
I just wonder if Roman's system was flipped. Let's say they were the worst rushing team and they were the best and most innovative passing team. Would we hearing the same criticism? What do you think? I mean, if we had the most innovative and creative passing game in the league, but the worst rushing attack, do you think the criticism would still be there like it is in reverse? I don't know.
That's true. That's a great point. I don't think it would because it wouldn't. It looks sexier, right?
I guess that's what it is. But the bottom line is, when you lead the league in point differential in back-to-back years, you're doing something right. So
yeah,
I'm just not willing to. And I'm hopeful that this new influx of coaches, this new kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The
new generation, if you will.
Well, the new focus on the passing game. Like they know that's the problem. Like John has addressed it. Exactly. Renewed emphasis on the passing game. You guys have got to be confident about or happy about that they've all identified that the passing game has been an issue. So they're going to go try and fix it. They just don't want to ball up everything they've done positively and throw it out the window to fix that part, because in 2019, they were really good at passing. Yeah, they didn't set records for yards, but they were the best in every other meaningful category. So, anyway.
Right. Well, that's all for us tonight, guys. We had an absolute blast. Can't wait to do this again next Tuesday. But in the meantime, of course, like we said, we have Jason Pruitt coming on from Draft Complex, the third most accurate draft analyst in
let me give you a couple other names. Number 147 on that list, Chris Collinsworth. This guy's number 3. We got number 170, Bucky Brooks. Number 186, Pete Prisco. Number 131, Chris Sims, former quarterback. We got the number 3 guy coming on tomorrow night.
Yeah, so absolutely make sure to stay tuned in. It's not going to be a live episode. We're going to record it, and then we'll get it out to you guys as soon as we can. But make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, so that way you know as soon as that video comes out. And we took some notes down for the names that you guys mentioned. We'll be sure to ask him those questions. Also, quick shout-out to all you guys that sent in a super chat. Skeptic Goat, Casper. We saw a couple new names in there tonight, so shout-out to you guys. As always, if you absolutely want to get your questions answered or your comments in, go ahead and do that, and we obviously try and address all of them, but certainly if you want to make it sure, go ahead and do that. But without any further ado,
I want to say a couple. I want to say Marcus.
Oh yeah,
we love it. Marcus Barnes, we love having you in here. Adam, we love it.
Tim.
Sky Hunter, let's go. Tim, yeah, we couldn't do it without you. Nana, obviously, we love having you in here. Dwayne, we rarely agree, but we love having you in here, Dwayne Hunter. We appreciate it. If I'm missing you, Antoine, if I'm missing you, anybody, we apologize, but we love having you guys in here. And
all of you, all Ravens flock.
Yeah, come back tomorrow night to check out our